Hi there, good morning. It's Melissa Benaroya, and I want to thank you for those of you that have shown up here on time. I know people will be popping in and out throughout our hour-ish together, and I definitely want to get started and make sure that we have enough time to cover everything and that I have time to answer your questions. So if I have a little chat box, I see my chat box in another window over here. If you're here, oh, hi, Rachel. Great to see you. You guys can sign in the right-hand corner of that chat box. It says set your name. So you can kind of set, you can create an account or just kind of set up a temporary account, or you can be, as you've seen, quite a few people are anonymous, but it's great to know who is here with us today, who's joining us. It would be fantastic also if you wouldn't mind sharing where you're calling from or watching from. And if you feel comfortable, love to know the ages of your kids so that way I can talk to whatever ages and stages your kids are at. So we are going to jump in here. It's just 10:31. I like to be punctual. I can't help it. But I want to make sure I see people slowly popping in. And so like I said, I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour. I know that you are very busy, you've got kids, and I want to make sure you have the best experience possible. So for this webinar, I'm actually going to share some slides with you because it's not super helpful to be staring at me. You're just not going to get as much out of it. So I am going to be sharing some slides with you and follow along. I'm happy to answer questions, but I'd love for you to write those down and ask them at the very end so that way I can get through everybody or everything and then also answer everybody's question, because I want to be focused on where we're at, what we're talking about, and then I can focus my attention to some of the questions that you have in the chat box. So with that, I'm going to turn it over here for just a second and I will pull up those slides. So give me 1 second here. All right, hopefully you can see that now. Okay. Oh, great. That did not pull up. That's a picture of my family. Give me 1 second here. I need to pull up my slides. That would help, wouldn't it? Let me do that for you. Okay. Perfect. And hopefully you see that. So if you can see the slides that are up, that I'm way ahead of myself. I was just kind of going through. There we go. If you can see the slides that start with parenting with confidence, preventing power struggles, please let me know, because I want to make sure that everybody can see it and everybody can hear me, because I am not great at technology and I'm trying to juggle things right now. So if you can see the slide and you can hear me, just go ahead and write something in the chat box saying, I hear you, I see you. Okay, at least I see you, yes. So that is a good sign that you can hear and see me. Fantastic. Okay, so it's time. Let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I just want to let you know I'm absolutely thrilled to have you show up here today. Good morning. My name's Melissa Benaroya, and this workshop is Parenting with Confidence, Preventing Power Struggles. Now, I want you to have the best, okay, you can see and hear me, fantastic. I want to make sure you have the best viewing experience possible today. So what I want you to do is turn off everything that's operating in the background of your computer right now. And that's including your email or Skype or extra programs. And I know this is even harder, but I'd love for you to turn off or silence your phone if possible, close the door, just give yourself a little bit of time to discover some of these new strategies that we're going to be talking about, because I've been working on this. It has started. So hopefully you can hear and see me. Hello from Mexico. Hi, Elena. I'm just starting right now. So just kind of introducing myself. Hopefully 1872, you can hear me. Again, I just want to thank you for coming today. I am excited to share with you some of the valuable information that can help make your life easier and your relationship with your child stronger. I know that you don't have a lot of time, so I am going to do my very best to keep this to an hour. Now, I also know that you're going to have some questions as we go through the workshop. And like I had mentioned before, I'd love for you to save those for the Q&A that I have at the end. So if you got a piece of paper or something, write them down. I don't want you to forget them because I want to make sure I answer all of your questions. I know I don't necessarily make sense all the time. So if there's a clarifying question, let me know right away. But I really just want to stay focused on where we're at. I'm not great at multitasking, so I like to stay really focused on one thing at a time. All right, so hopefully, Elena, you can hear us and we're jumping in. So I want to let you know that you are in the right place if bedtime is a constant struggle. Maybe you spend hours each night just trying to get your kiddo through the bedtime routine, or maybe you get them through the routine, but they won't stay in bed once lights are out. Or maybe you feel like you're constantly repeating yourself like a broken record and nobody is listening. Maybe getting out the door in the morning is a constant battle and exhausting. You wish that you could start off the day calmly and not feel so rushed all the time. I get it. Starting off the day this way never feels good to anyone at all. Or maybe you feel like you're constantly nagging and yelling, that the only way to get your child to do anything is to constantly harp on them or raise your voice. Actually, Sarah emailed me this morning. Hopefully you're with us, Sarah. And she told me that she is tired of being harsh and nagging, and that she really wants her family to feel more like a team, and that she wants to find ways to motivate them instead of feeling like she always has to threat. Okay, just if you can't connect, just refresh and you will find us, I promise. Sarah, you are definitely in the right place. So I want to ask all of you if you can relate to one of these or maybe all of these. I'd love to know. And if so, which ones? Thank you, somebody, for sharing. Hit refresh. So any of these things speak to you? I'd love to hear kind of what it is that brought you here today, because if you can relate to any of these scenarios, you, my friend, are in the right place. Because today I'm going to show you how to avoid big time power struggles with your child. And specifically, I'm going to show you how to share power and control with your child so they're more than happy to cooperate and do what you need them to do. I'm also going to show you how to respond when they are resistant and being difficult. The strategies I'm going to share with you, I actually use every single day with my kids, and there is no way I could have the relationship that I have with my kids today without this tool. Yes, we struggle getting out of the door in the morning. Hi, Chicago. Chicago, there's a lot of nagging and repeating. There's a lot of nagging going on. Thank you for sharing, y'all. I also want to let you know that getting kids to listen and cooperate is the #1 complaint I hear from all of the parents that I work with. So please do not feel like you are alone dealing with these battles. Resistance is the most thing, right? Because they don't want to listen and cooperate. And there's actually a lot that you can do to avoid these challenges. And these are the exact same things I work on in my private practice with families. And I would say that probably 98% of them say that making the small changes that we come up with together significantly changes the dialogue in their home and the feeling that they have in their home. Yay, you're connected. I'm glad to see. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, so as you already know, being a parent, it takes a lot of energy being a parent, especially when you're constantly reminding and nagging, sometimes even yelling. It is exhausting and depleting. And when your child ignores you or simply responds with a no, it's really hard to keep your blood from boiling, especially when you're trying to be helpful and you're trying to support them. I know that you want to enjoy your time with your kids, and I'm going to help you figure out today what's not working and why, as well as give you a few ideas to start making some changes. All right. So let me break things down. So you kind of have a general sense of what we're going to cover. We're going to start out by looking at why your child acts the way they do. When you understand why your child is doing what they're doing, you'll be able to be more intentional and thoughtful about how you parent and respond. Understanding must precede action or reaction sometimes, in our case as parents. Then we're going to look at what is not working. And I'm pretty sure every one of us has tried at least one of these strategies. Maybe you're still using them. I admit that they do work in the short term, but let me tell you, they do not work in the long term. And they definitely don't promote the type of relationship that I'm guessing you want with your child. So I'm going to suggest you stop falling back on these strategies so you can be more effective and less frustrated and exhausted. Does that sound pretty good? Okay, lastly, I'm going to share with you one of my top tools to inviting your child's cooperation. And you may be using this strategy to some extent already, but I'm going to show you how to use it so that your child feels connected to you. They feel acknowledged, empowered. They're more cooperative. They feel more cooperative. And like I mentioned before, if you just popped in here, I actually have some special gifts and bonuses for you towards the end of our workshop today. So please stick around. And once again, I know people are just popping in. I will have a Q&A at the end, so I'm going to answer all of your questions, I promise. So write them down. I know for me, I like forget things in like 2 seconds. So please, please, please write them down so I can make sure I answer everything or clarify. All right, so before I jump in, I really would love to hear what your #1 challenge or struggle is with your child. I know we talked about nagging and kids resisting, but what is that #1 struggle that is just really top of mind for you right now? And if you're comfortable, once again, I'd love for you to share your child's age so we can kind of put in context what that struggle looks like. You can think about things that have happened this week. Maybe it happened this morning. Those challenges that kind of are a constant, that don't ever seem to go away, get resolved. The ones that really, really drain you and take you to your limit. So extreme resistance from my 2-year-old. And I love to hear what resistance looks like. Is this ignoring you, yelling back at you, saying no? Like, what are the things that are driving you crazy? What are the constant battles over? While you're sharing with me, because I know there's a little bit of a delay, I'm going to keep jumping in and talking a little bit more, but please, please, please share what it is, because I want to make sure I address all of these today. All right, so I realize I have not properly introduced myself, and many of you here today, because you know me already, you've taken my classes, you've worked with me privately, maybe you've gotten some of my emails, but this may also be our first time meeting. So let me just take a minute really quick to introduce myself. So my name is Melissa Benaroya, which you've probably figured that piece out right now. I am a licensed therapist, but I practice as a parent and family coach. I'm also certified in Dr. John Gottman's work as an educator, and I'm a positive discipline facilitator. So in addition to teaching and coaching, I'll also serve as a spokesperson for organizations that provide parent support. I provide parent education in schools. I write regularly for parenting publications, and I've also co-authored a book called The Childproof Parent. Surprise, surprise. You may have also seen me on local news from time to time on parenting related news stories. So as you can see here, I have about 5 or 6 different hats that I'm wearing, but they're all focused on helping parents raise healthy, happy children. Okay, I see a lot coming up here. Negotiating, resisting, physically running away, throwing things, hitting siblings, lying. All right, these are all things that will be addressed today. So there's a little bit about me. I also want to let you know that I am absolutely obsessed with helping parents feel confident in their parenting and raise healthy, happy children, but it's not always been my focus. In fact, the first 8 years of my career, I only worked with kids. I focused on helping children who were struggling and who were exhibiting these challenging behaviors. But I was working with parents on the sidelines, and what I realized was I was doing these kids a disservice. The biggest change I saw in kids' lives is when their parents got involved. So I refocused all of my work to working primarily with parents just like you. And I've been doing this now for almost 20 years. Having my own kids has also been a big influence in my work. This is my baby girl who is now 13. So once I had my own kids, I could really understand and relate to the parents I'd been working with. It gave me a new perspective that was really invaluable to my work. I finally understood what that overwhelming feeling felt like to be out of control or want to lash back at my daughter when she tantrum or she hit me, or like you said, she ran away. Having that fight or flight response reaction in response to her erratic behaviors and emotional outbursts became very real to me. So I want you to know that I am just like you in many, many ways. I am not special or have any quote unquote natural parenting skills. I was right where you were many years ago. And I remember very clearly where this sweet, cute little baby girl here, when she was about 2 years old, and she just threw herself on the ground tantruming in the hallway at her preschool, and she was inconsolable. And this is, of course, when all of the other parents and kids are walking by all happy, going out to their car. And I remember like sweating through my sweater, feeling so helpless. And to be perfectly honest, quite embarrassed. I mean, it was me who would work with kids for many, many years as a therapist, and I had no idea what to do with this writhing child. What the heck was I doing? So that's when I decided to really invest and get trained and do something about my situation, because I knew what I was doing was not working with this little girl. And the result was an investment in 11 and 13-year-old that I actually love spending time with. All right, so enough about me. Let's talk about you and your child and what's driving your child's behaviors and big emotions, because understanding what's underneath the surface is going to allow you to better respond to what they actually want or need. I promise you, they are not intentionally trying to drive you crazy. They don't want to see like what color red they can make your face. That is not their intention. They do not have that awareness. So according to Adlerian psychology, which is based on positive discipline, all human behavior is goal-oriented and purposeful. There's actually a drive that leads us to act, and every action a child takes has a purpose. Their basic aim is to have a feeling of significance and a place within a group. And a well-adjusted child has found their way towards social acceptance by cooperating with the requirements of the group and by making their own useful contribution to it. A misbehaving child, on the other hand, is still trying in a mistaken way to feel important in his or her own world. So, for example, a young child who has never been allowed to dress themselves because maybe the parent's always, quote unquote, in a hurry, or hasn't been allowed to help in the house because they've been told, you know, you're not big enough to do something like sit at the table, may actually lack the feeling that he or she is useful or a contributing member of the family. They might feel that they're only important when they're arousing a parent's anger and annoyance with their misbehavior. And there are actually 4 mistaken goals of misbehavior. And once again, this is coming from positive discipline. Your child is unaware of their goal. Their misbehavior or the behavior, though illogical to you, is consistent with their own interpretation of their place in the world and your family. And there are really just 2 goals that I see most often in my practice with all of the families that I work with, especially with really young kids. So those are number 1, power and control, and number 2, attention. And quite honestly, these don't necessarily always go away. I see a lot of adults misbehaving for these reasons. So if what is driving your child's behavior is the need for power and control, they're working really hard to be the boss. And we as parents often respond to this behavior by feeling provoked and get pulled into this power contest with them. And for us, it may sound like an internal dialogue of, you know what, you're not going to get away with this. But let's be honest here, your child has little to no power or control over their life. You pretty much call all of the shots, right? Really young kids only have one thing that they control, and that's their physical body. And that's why many times power struggles are around what goes on their body, getting dressed, putting shoes on, what they're putting in the body, eating, where they place their body, getting in the car, getting into bed, staying in the room, and even what's coming out of their body. I'm curious if anybody here today has spent probably more time than they'd like to admit trying to toilet train their child in the past. This is very common. Or maybe you're in the middle of it right now. If it is or was an exhausting experience, it was probably because your child felt a lack of power and control. Because when power and control is not shared with children, they are going to look for it. They're going to seek it out, which then results in misbehavior. Okay, somebody can totally relate to getting in the car. Sometimes it's getting out of the car. Absolutely. Okay, and the second goal is seeking attention. And with this goal, your child wants attention and service. And as parents, we respond by feeling annoyed and that we need to reprimand and coax them. And this usually leads to your child's misinterpretation. Many times kids whose misbehavior is driven by the need for attention are misinterpreting how to achieve that feeling of belonging and significance. Some, for whatever reason, believe that you only love them when you're paying attention to them or they're keeping you busy with them. And I know what you're probably thinking. Are you kidding me? I give my child endless amounts of attention. But the reality is they don't want 100%. They want 110% of your attention. You know, we got to be honest with ourselves. You are their lifeline and they want to feel important and loved and will go to great lengths to get it. And in many times, this ends up showing up as a misbehavior because when your child acts out, your attention is immediately focused and turned on them. And they know how to draw you in. And from their past history, they've seen it work. So it tends to repeat itself. So knowing that their negative behaviors are a way of communicating what they need or want, you need to first be a detective, like this woman here, and try to uncover what is underneath the surface of this misbehavior. Because if you just respond to the behavior that you're seeing, you're probably not going to find a solution that actually works. It's almost like that bandage approach. We have to get at the root cause before coming up with the right solution or the right response. So I'm hoping this is making some sense to you so far. If not, and you need clarification, please let me know. Okay, so what do kids really need? They need one thing that all kids need, and they really need clear limits and boundaries. They actually crave them. It gives them a feeling of safety and security. And I want to demonstrate this for you because you're probably once again thinking, I'm crazy, my kid's always pushing the limits, but that's because they really want to know where they are. So I want you to imagine that you woke up in a pitch black room that you've never been in before. You cannot see anything at all. And unlike the room that's pictured here, the one you're in has no light at all or a door, at least that's visible. So let me ask you, if you woke up to this, how might you be feeling? So go ahead and share in the chat box what you would be thinking or what you would be feeling when you first become conscious in this space. It's completely black. You don't know where you are. You're not sure how you got here. You don't know what's around you. Yeah, you'd feel a little bit scared, right? It's completely silent. A lot of people say scared. Some people will say things like, I feel like nervous, confused, disoriented, anxious, cautious, curious, like, is there a way out of here? And I'm wondering, when you're thinking, is there a way out of here? What are you feeling in that moment? So when you're feeling this way, what would be the first thing that you do? What would be the first action you take? Yeah, anxiety, totally anxious. So you're feeling anxious, you're feeling confused, you don't know where you are, you're thinking, is there a way out of here? What is your first move? What do? Do you just sit there for 30 minutes? Call out for help? Some people will call out for help, absolutely. Some people will slowly start, feeling around, absolutely. They'll start feeling around, but really slowly. They're not like running frantically because you don't know what's around you, right? So being pretty cautious. So what would happen if you finally hit a wall? Does that feel any different? So your hand hits the wall and you're sliding your hand up and down the wall. Does that feel any different than when you were first sitting in the middle of the room, not knowing anything about your surroundings? You're feeling confused, disoriented, anxious, nervous. You've hit this wall. Does anything change for you? I imagine it probably does. I haven't heard from anybody yet, but I'm imagining it does. Many people will say that they feel a sense of relief or a sense of hope, that they relax a little bit or they can breathe more easily. They found themselves being like really tight and tense, kind of relaxed. I do this exercise with you because being a young child can often feel like living in a dark room sometimes. You don't know or understand your surroundings. You're unsure of how things work or what's going to happen. But when you hit the wall or maybe say a boundary or a limit, you start to feel that sense of relief, right? Kids need those limits to feel safe. And like I said before, they actually crave them. I know it sounds crazy, but they really do. Gives them a feeling of sense and security. And their job is to knock down and punch those walls. They're gonna kick those, they're gonna do their best to kick those walls down. And your job as a parent is to hold them up and repair them and make sure those limits and boundaries stay in place. Jane Nelson, the founder of Positive Discipline, which is based on Adlerian psychology, advocates that we need to be both kind and firm in our parenting, that we can set clear boundaries and hold them firmly, right? Well, but being really kind and loving and respectful at the same time. So it's, most people say they go from one end of the spectrum, like I'm really hard and I'm really strict and then I feel bad and I'm really nice, and kind of going back and forth. And there's a way that we can combine those two. So before I share with you one way that we can be both kind and firm while sharing power and control with your child, I want to call out first what doesn't work. These are things that are going to work against you and fuel power struggles. So I think it's worth mentioning really quickly before I jump into our topic for today. So first I want to start with timeouts. Okay, don't panic here. I know this may be or have been your go-to parenting response. So let's talk about this. Timeouts were made to give children the opportunity to calm down and reflect. And unfortunately, the way many parents use them, it feels more like a punishment to children. So if used correctly, they can be very effective. But really, most people just say something to their child like, you know what, you need a timeout, go sit on the couch, or you need to go to your room till you calm down. And this really isn't that helpful, and it's not that effective, especially in the long term. I mean, what do you think is happening when your child is in a timeout or you've used a timeout this way? I guarantee that the commentary running through their head is, you know what, I hate them, they're mean, they don't understand me. They're probably pretty pissed off. They're probably feeling powerless, maybe disrespected, and they may be interpreting this as a love withdrawal, that you only love me and want to be with me when I'm doing what you want me to, and you don't love me when I mess up and make mistakes. I'm not lovable when I make mistakes. And I guarantee this isn't why parents are using timeouts, but it's what's happening many times in these situations. Number 2, counting down. You know, it's that 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to take it from you now. I know there's a whole book on this. I think it's craziness. There's usually a threat at that end of a countdown. And again, that's not super helpful. who really likes to be counted down on? I know I don't. It makes me feel really resistant when somebody counts down on me. It does not make me feel cooperative. And when we count down, we take away their responsibility for actually choosing to obey or cooperate. You are forcing them to do it because you are the authority figure, rather than as a parent helping them to make a choice to cooperate or not. So right now, I want to just stop for a second and make sure you have the workout. You can write the workbook to write some things down, and hopefully y'all printed out your workbook. So go ahead and get it right now. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm moving on without you. Okay, I know that was not a good reenactment. I'm not a great actress, but you might have just felt for a second what it was I was talking about, and what it's communicating to kids is that I expect you to do what I say without the need. Okay, you're laughing, haha. I know, it's not that great. So you're communicating that I expect you to do what I say without the need for understanding. And it sends the message that, you know what, I don't expect you to do what I asked right away or listen, because you actually have till 3. And most times it's really more like 5 or 6, because there's usually a 2 and a 2.5 and 2 3/4, right? So when we do this, usually both parent and child's emotions are starting to escalate, just the opposite of feeling connected and cooperative. So not a great strategy. So yes, I know the countdown makes my 5-year-old panic, right? Nobody's going to want to cooperate when they're in panic mode. There's many other things that we can do instead. So please just keep listening. So one last thing, I'm sorry, I hope you're not feeling deflated right now, but the third mistake that most parents make at one time or another is usually using threats and bribes. And this is a major crutch that many parents use that they don't actually feel great about, but use because they don't know what else to do. Yes, we have all tried it at one point, and we're all guilty. And quite honestly, like I said before, many times these things work in the short term. We can get the results we want immediately most often. But what most parents don't realize is that there is a huge cost to using these tactics in the long term. They actually backfire on us. Yeah, so many times people get to the 1, 2, 3. I see, give them lots of opportunities to obey, and then at last resort, you get to 1, 2, 3. So hopefully I'll give you a way to tweak what you're doing so you don't have to get there. So going back to threats and bribes, if they are used routinely, kids start to expect rewards for doing something that they should be doing anyways. They say things like, well, you know, what are you going to give me if I make my bed? Or they try negotiating for something they want, which might sound something like, you know what, I'll clean my room if you take me for ice cream after. And I hear parents complaining about this behavior all the time. They say things like, my kid's manipulative, or they're constant negotiating, not super helpful. So on the flip side of bribes is threats, and kids start to retaliate and respond to these threats with, you know what, so what? Because they end up realizing that they're losing power and control. So one way to keep that power and control is just like, I don't care, right? And they just don't want you to wield your power over them. They want to feel a sense of control. So kids do not learn from these strategies. They don't understand or value the behavior that they're being bribed or threatened to do. They simply perform in order to get the reward or avoid what's being threatened. Ideally, we want kids to be able to behave without us always needing to intervene. By bribing and threatening, we actually decrease the likelihood they'll replicate that behavior again all on their own. We're actually discouraging the value behavior, and research has shown that children lose interest in tasks that they have received extrinsic or external rewards for. So what can we do instead? You might be wondering, since rewards and threats may be a part of your current arsenal, what do you do? So let me tell you, there are a handful of respectful parenting responses that we can use in lieu of rewards and threats, and I'm going to share some of my favorites with you today. First of all, I want to point out that all three of those strategies that I just shared include wielding control over children. Remember, we talked about what's underneath that behavior, right? We got to look underneath, and that they're searching for control or being connected. So one way to avoid power struggles and encourage kids to cooperate is to actually offer them control. Put it out there for them. And that's why I suggest using limited choices. We all want choices in life, and your kids are no different. Once they become toddlers, as early as toddlers, control becomes really important. This is because at around age 20 to 24 months, children begin to separate from their parents. And this is the first time they realize that they are a separate entity. And with this separation, they gain their own ideas and preferences. And once you could just hand them anything to eat on any plate, at age 2, they're throwing themselves on the floor, demanding a blue plate. And in those moments, you're probably thinking, really, are you kidding me? But if you think about it as control, it all makes sense. You don't care which plate they use. You just want them to eat lunch so you can go on with your day. So to stave off conflicts, it is helpful to offer limited choices throughout the day so your kids have some control over their lives. You can offer choices around things that you don't even care about. It's important that we offer choices before making a request or telling them what to do. And so instead of saying something like, you know what, you need to go brush your teeth right now, you might say, hey, you know what, do you want to brush your teeth first, or do you want to get your jammies on first? Now, choices can also help you get out of a frustrating situation. So first, I'm suggesting you offer it all day long so they feel a sense of power and control. But when things get out of hand, it's also a great time to offer them too. When your kids are already in a fit, sometimes offering choices after reflecting their emotion and making that connection will help move them on to the next step. You know what? I know what you're thinking again. I already offer them choices, but I want to talk about what a limited choice actually is and how we create them. So number one, a limited choice starts with a limit. Remember, kids need boundaries, clear limits. So for example, in this scenario pictured here, we are having cereal for breakfast today. Do you want Cheerios or do you want Wheaties? Did you notice I started with the clear limit? We're having cereal for breakfast. I didn't start with, hey, what do you guys want for breakfast, or what can I make you? I set a very clear limit. We're having cereal for breakfast. Then we only offer 2 choices. These 2 choices have to be something we're okay with and we're actually going to follow through on. So you can't say something like, hey, you know what? You can either have the pancakes or don't eat anything and I'll go to school starving today. In that case, you're actually creating a threat as one of those choices. And it's probably something you're not even going to follow through on. So that's not really helpful. So it would have to start with the limit. Hey, I'm making breakfast right now, or I'm making breakfast this morning. Do you want me to make pancakes or waffles? Again, not asking, what do you guys want? Because that leaves the door open for options you may not be willing to offer. Then it is critical, especially for young kids, that you give them time to make a choice. You have to give them, sorry, I have a really dry throat today, so I keep drinking water. You have to give them about 10 to 15 seconds. You and I can make split-second decisions, like pancakes and waffles. No big deal, I know what I want, waffles. But their processing is much, much slower. You need to give them time to make a choice. Sometimes this is the hardest part of offering limited choices, but I guarantee that if you give them the time to process and reply, you are going to save a lot of time and a lot of energy because you avoid getting into that power struggle. And I know what you're thinking again, a bunch of what ifs. So let me respond to those. First of all, if your child tries to come up with their own idea, you need to hold the line. If you give in and negotiate or make an exception, you are communicating, I don't really mean what I say, which then encourages them to see how far they can push or negotiate. All you need to do in this situation is repeat the limit and restate their choices very calmly, very nonchalant. Hey, you know what, guys? I am making breakfast right now. Do you want me to make pancakes or waffles? And on occasion, they will come up with a better idea, and sometimes that's okay. Like, we can be a little flexible. Maybe they have a better choice than we gave them, but it is not something that you can do on a regular basis, okay? So every now and then, when they have a better idea for choices, like maybe they came up with a healthier food option, great. I just want an apple today. Fantastic, that's a healthy food choice. Let me get you an apple, all right? But we don't want to use it on a regular basis. And if you have a child that does not make a choice or ignores you, then you simply repeat the limit and the choices. You only do this once though. No broken records. I want to highlight, we're not repeating this more than once, all right? And if they don't respond or they won't choose because they're saying no or coming up with their own ideas, you simply then make a choice for them, once again, in a very nonchalant manner. It sounds like, hey, you know what? No problem. I'm going to pick right now. I'm going to make some pancakes today. Making sure it doesn't sound like a threat again. So that tone and delivery is key. You know, it can sound like, you know what? Fine. You're not going to choose, then I'm going to make pancakes. Okay. Right? Like, that feels very different than, hey, no problem. You guys are having a hard time deciding what you want. I'm going to make pancakes. Now, if they quickly make a different decision after you've chosen, great. Not a problem. The goal here is to get a clear answer about what is for breakfast. This is not a battle of the wills. Many times we get sucked back in. We don't want to do that. Your child may also change their mind when it's too late. And maybe you already made the pancakes and now they decide they want the other option. They want waffles. And when this happens, you start with empathy and say something like, oh no, you didn't choose, so I made pancakes. But you know what? Tomorrow you are more than welcome to have waffles. And then you can follow up just with another choice. You know what? Do you want me to get some syrup out, or do you want berries on top of your pancakes? We move on and we give another set of choices. We do not continue to engage in the dialogue about that last set of choices that we already made. Now, the more consistent you are in giving choices this way, the more encouraged they're going to be to make a choice, because they would much rather make a choice for themselves than let you make the choice for them. And when you give them lots of limited choices, it's easier for kids to manage things when they don't actually have a choice, because there are going to be times and situations and circumstances when there is absolutely no choice for them. So they can handle it a lot better when they've been given power and control through choices. Now, I have a few additional tips that I want to share that can be really helpful when using limited choices. Number one, do not piggyback. Adults piggyback when they lecture or scold, saying things like, you know what, I told you so, or you know what, if you talked up a little bit sooner. We do that to make the child feel bad or guilty, thinking that they're gonna do it differently next time because we say it this way. But kids don't learn anything from this edition. What they learn, or what they think when you piggyback, just is that you're not mean and you don't understand them. So just being mindful that we just keep our mouths shut when this happens. Number two, you need to stay calm. If you escalate, they're going to escalate too. Our brains are wired to emulate the behaviors and the emotions of others. And if you start to get frustrated and lose it, I guarantee your child is too. So if you focus on keeping your cool, your child's going to be able to stay cool and have access to their rational brain so they can actually make a choice. We spent a lot of time on tools and strategies for staying calm in the Childproof Parenting course. That's a whole other topic on its own. But it can sometimes be a parent's biggest challenge. I hear from parents all the time, I just lose it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm going crazy. And there's a lot that we can do to avoid that from happening. And lastly, we got to be consistent. Don't wait until things are bad or escalate to give limited choices. You have to offer limited choices as many times a day as possible. And you can do this around things that don't even matter. Because if their control bank account is filled, they won't be scrounging around looking for control in every place possible. And again, when they have been offered lots of choices, they'll be able to handle it when they don't actually have a choice. The more you use choices, the less your child's going to push back or try to negotiate, because you've consistently responded the same way. This creates clear expectations, and they learn that you mean what you say. So if you are enjoying this so far and thinking, okay, I'm starting to understand this strategy Melissa's laying down here, I want you to let me know. I want you to type in, I'm in, or I'll do it, in the box right next to you. If you're willing to try this simple strategy that actually works, type I'm in. And maybe, like I said, you're doing this to some extent, but I gave you some ways to tweak it. Feels lonely on this side of the screen sometimes, so it's nice to hear from you every now and then. So I'd love to hear if you are willing to jump in and try some of these changes in the way that you're parenting. So let me know if you're in or you're willing to try it out. And my hope is that you are. My hope that you're on board. I mean, you showed up today, so I know you're totally in. All right, awesome. I like totally in. That's even better. You showed up. You care. You are an intentional parent. 0683, they're into. That's awesome. So I love people that are serious about it. I think it's awesome. So, again, I'm pretty sure I know what you're thinking again. And no, it's not that I'm a mind reader, but I've taught this to hundreds, probably thousands of parents in my lifetime. It does work. And not just with kids. I actually use choices all day long in my personal life. People like to have a choice. As adults, we like having control. So, for example, when I'm out with a friend and maybe we're going to dinner, I say things like, hey, you want to swing by and pick me up, or would you prefer I drive? Should we eat lunch at the restaurant, or you want to bring it back to my house? Limited choices also applies to the workplace. So if you're a working parent, you might say something like, hey, you know what? I really need that report by tomorrow. Can you give it to me by the end of the day, or would bringing it in first thing in the morning be better for you? Someone who is given the choice will probably be much more likely to get that report completed in a timely manner and probably feel more positively towards you than if they weren't given a choice. All right. What happens when you try and you're still not seeing results? That's a great question, and I am going to address that. And once again, I just want to highlight this is one tiny tweak. So you need to have a parenting toolbox where you have many strategies. And I'm not talking 20 or 30. I'm talking 6 or 7 evidence-based strategies that are guaranteed to work. And these strategies look and sound different for every family, but they work. All right, so I'm gonna address that some more. Remember, nothing I have shared today is theory. I've used limited choices with my children for years. My kids know it. They know when I'm offering them limited choices and they appreciate it. My parenting philosophy and my strategy are no secret in my house. My 13-year-old daughter could actually be running this webinar right now. She's told me she's watched my webinar. She told me she could teach it better. And you know, when we're running around and we're rushing at my house, my kids will say things like, hey mom, what are my choices? And it reminds me that they're feeling overwhelmed and powerless and that I need to slow down and share some control with them. And when I do, things really do go a whole lot smoother. Is this a magical solution? Heck no. And like I was just responding to 4262, this is just one standalone parenting tool, one that needs to be in your toolbox with at least 6 or 7 other solid strategies. So now I'm not exactly why you specifically showed up today. It's likely that you know that you need some support or you want a clear plan, but you don't know what to do to get things started. And you're likely frustrated with continuing to search for new and different parenting ideas from friends and books and websites and podcasts. It can take a lot of time and energy. And maybe you just want to know what to do and how to do it to see real results so you can actually enjoy the time that you have with your kiddos. All right. So there are a lot of reasons why you may have shown up today, and everybody showed up today because they are facing some type of challenge with their child. So again, you are not alone at all. And there is so much more you can actually be doing to avoid these challenges. I want you to know you can do this. You can change the dialogue between you and your child by making a handful of simple changes. I've done this myself with both of my kids, and have helped thousands of other parents do the same thing. And as I mentioned earlier, I have kids that I think are a pleasure, and they listen and they're responsible, at least most of the time. But I can promise you that I'm not extra special. I just have the tools and strategies that work. If I can do this, I mean it when I say you can too. So the obvious question here is, how do you make this all work so you can change the way things are going with your child? If you're like me, you get really excited about strategies and you're ready to implement them, you're probably ready to do it right now, okay? And the obvious question is, like I said, how do you make this work? Well, you really have two options here. And notice I'm going to be offering you two choices. I use this all the time. Number one, you can go the complicated and confusing way by trying to figure it out all by yourself and piecing together and talking to friends and reading books and listening to podcasts and watching webinars using kind of a trial and error approach. That is one way, and people do it that way, all right? Or number two, you can go the simple and strategic way. You can follow a roadmap that is a whole lot easier and simpler than the piece it together through trial and error plan. A plan that actually saves you time and energy and gets you to where you want your family to be. It helps you build your confidence in your parenting, all right? I don't promise that you're gonna be a super mom or dad, because really those people don't exist. Maybe you think you saw them on Facebook, but they don't exist. But you can have the confidence of a super parent. And I'm guessing you already know that I want you to go that simple and easy strategic way. And that's why I want to invite you to join me inside the Childproof Parenting course. The Childproof Parenting course is the absolute easiest and fastest way to see a real change in your energy level, your child's behavior, and your family life. It's all about having clarity and focus on the way you interact with your child, and then making these changes a habit. It's the only step-by-step program that will teach you to not only improve your day-to-day parenting and relationship with your kids, but also how to include your own self-care and maintain strong relationships with others at the same time. Imagine that, right? It's not just about the kids. And I've taught this to hundreds of thousands of parents over the last 20 years, all focused on things like partner relationships, discipline, emotion coaching, creating motivation, empathy, so many more topics. And I have thousands of students. And one thing that I can tell you is that I am determined to get you results as well. So I want you to discover how to parent with confidence and with clarity so you feel fueled at the end of each day and you feel connected to your child by having a simple, straightforward plan. That is my mission. So here's what you get when you sign up for Childproof Parenting. You get the Childproof Parenting Roadmap that includes 6 steps or modules of what you need to do to make this all work. My program is 100% online, and there are over 20 training videos that includes a workbook that goes along with it that can be downloaded and kept as your own. This course also includes live video calls where I answer all of your specific questions. So there's kind of a piece that you can do all on your own at any time, and then there's a piece that you can join in with a group of parents. It's super important to me that you feel like you're getting the support you need, either from me or for the group. There's also a members-only private Facebook group that I'm in regularly, and the community is there to support you as well. So if you get stuck along the way, you have a private group for members only of parents just like you. Now, like I mentioned, there are downloadable there's a downloadable workbook that comes with worksheets and tracking sheets and cheat sheets and example. So I have it all covered there. You don't have to take tons of notes. It's all laid out for you. So let me tell you a little bit about the different modules. You'll notice that the first part of the program is really about you, because if you are not cared for and your relationships are not tended to, you will not have the energy to apply all of the discipline practices that you're going to be learning. You cannot be the best parent possible if you are not finding time to find balance in your life that includes you. We fully address this. Module is about partner relationships, or a partner relationship. We talk about the changes that happen when you bring a child into your family, what skills you need to maintain connection with your partners and your friends, and how to communicate effectively with your partner, especially when you have little time or energy. When I say partner, it can be a spouse, a boyfriend, a nanny, a grandma. So I draw most of this information from my training from Dr. John Gottman's work. And if you don't know who he is a world famous researcher on couple relationships and emotion coaching. Just Google him and he will show up. Moving into module 3, we start talking about your kiddos, what they're doing while they're doing these things, and what they need at each stage of their development. We also spend time on the importance of play and how to incorporate more of it into your home and your daily life. And I'm not just talking about kids play, that is very important, but also play for you. Then we move into module 4, we jump in, we talk about the difference between discipline and punishment. Very different. I walk you through each step by step, how you can stay more calm and more patient with your kids, and how you can invite their cooperation so you avoid power struggles. Then in module 5, we continue to build your parenting toolbox by talking about how you can be more clear and consistent. I am going to share with you systems that will help simplify expectations and encourage your kiddo to be responsible for themselves. I'm going to show you how to make small little changes to the way you speak to your child that will encourage them to be cooperative. And I'm also going to show you step by step how to create and use consequences that are effective and that teach. And lastly, in module 6, I share with you Dr. John Gottman's emotion coaching as a problem-solving tool. We're going to assess your natural parenting style, and I'm going to teach you the 5 steps of emotion coaching as well as the 5 steps of problem solving. What I think is super cool is that you can take this class anywhere, anytime. You can take it on the go because you can watch the lessons, you can download the lessons on your phone, an iPad, a computer, wherever you want to get this information. Now, I also love bonuses, and I've included quite a few of them for you inside this program. The first bonus is that private Facebook group. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be in that Facebook group regularly, and the community will be there to support you as well. In addition to the course, you'll also get access to 3 webinars that I've led with other leaders in their field. The first one, How to Raise a Confident Child with Tracy Cutchlow. She's the author of the book 0 to 5. The second one, you'll get Raising a Rock Star, 3 Ways to Nurture Your Child's Musical Talents with Expert Parenting Skills, that I co-led with Stephanie Carlin, who is a performing artist and music teacher. And the third is Empowering Kids and Understanding Their Anxiety with Karen Young, who is a psychologist and the founder of the very popular Hey Sigmund blog. And she's also the author of a children's book called Hey Warrior that I highly recommend. And since you are here with me live today, I'm going to throw in 2 books for you if you sign up by midnight tomorrow. So that's Tuesday night and midnight. So it's just over 24 hours, maybe it's 36 hours. So first you're going to get a hardback copy of The Childproof Parent, which is signed by me, as well as Tracy Cutlow's award-winning 0 to 5, 70 essential parenting tips based on science, as an audiobook to take with you on the go. And this book includes lots of great tips and research that complements everything taught in the Childproof Parenting course. Now, I only have 10 of these book bonus packs to give away. So the first 10 people that sign up after this webinar, you are going to get this specific bonus. So the sooner that you choose to enroll, the higher likelihood you're going to get this book bonus in addition to everything else I've mentioned so far. And as if that's not enough, since you're here with me live today, right now, I'm going to throw in one more bonus because I am really excited to get to know you. The first 5 people who enroll in the next 2 hours will also get a private coaching session with me. These private coaching sessions can be over the phone or over Skype. We will dive deeper into the content as it relates to you on a personal level. And I'm going to answer any of your specific questions that you might have about your family and your child. Now, I normally charge $165 an hour as a parent coach. And this is going to be included free for all of those that sign up within the next 2 hours. But there are only 5. So if you are one of these 5, you're also going to get the book. So just making sure it's not something separate. So this is my special gift to you for showing up today and making this a priority. Now, I'm sure you're curious about how this programs work for others. So here are some shortened quotes from just a few of my previous students. So Jillian said, the principles were easy to grasp, but it was the practical real-world approach that was transformative. Blake, dad to Gemma, said, Melissa's uniquely skilled at helping parents find solutions to the many challenges of raising children while always keeping that bigger picture in mind. And that's something we talk about throughout the course, the bigger picture, as in addition to the small little challenges that we're managing day to day. And Colette said, my son responded almost immediately to even small changes in how I approach our interaction. So these are just 3 of the hundreds of thousands of students that have taken this course. So are you ready to become a child-proof parent? Well, if you're thinking about it, I want to share that this is an investment. I see a quick little question come up, and I want to make sure I answer it. This course is for toddlers, but my child is 6. I also have an 8-year-old. This is totally applicable to a parent that has a 6 and 8-year-old. I separate my courses kind of by ages and stages. But both of my courses for older kids and younger kids are almost identical, okay? This course has a little bit of an addition because I do talk a little bit about child development, which I don't spend any time on in the other course. But all of the disciplines the same, all of the emotion coaching, all of the self-care, all of the relationship pieces are exactly the same. And I do have a lot of families that have older kids that have signed up for this course. So I'm glad that you asked. So this is an investment, obviously, of time, of energy, of money, absolutely. So before I share, I want to make a point that, you know, you could try to figure this all out on your own, and I already said this, and you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and waste tons of time trying to do this yourself. But these mistakes, these possible mistakes that you could take could be incredibly costly. They could be frustrating, and they also can be confusing to your child. The total value of the Child-Proof Parenting course with lifetime access and the bonuses that I just offered is $1,860, all right? And you can enroll today for just $397 or as little as 3 installments or 3 payments of $134. That means you can break it up into 3 monthly payments to make it easier if that works best for you. Or you're welcome to pay in full, or, you know, there's also an option of 2 payments. I know that this is an investment and can definitely feel like a lot of money, but if you do the math and you think about what your relationship is worth with your child, it's almost a no-brainer, right? I think about it. This boils down to like $30 a month for 1 year. If you were to work with me as a private coach, it would cost at least $1,500 to get all of this information. And as a client, you really only get access to me and this information once. I almost never cover this much content with clients because it becomes too costly. Now, all you need to do right now is click the link below this video and you can get started right away. So here's what happens next. When you click the link below this video, it's going to take you to the Child-Proof Parenting sales page where you can read up on all of the details if you want a little bit more information. From there, you're going to look for the payment options down below. So just go all the way to the bottom, the full, the 2, and the 3 installment payment plan. So whatever works best for you. You can save a little bit of money by paying in full at $397, but totally what works best for you. Once you choose either of these or one of these, it's going to take you to the final step, the order form, and it's going to take you less than 2 minutes. It's going to take you 30 seconds to fill this out. Then that's it. You are good to go. You'll then get an email with your login, and the foundation module is waiting for you right now to get started. But here's what's really cool. You get lifetime access into this childproof parenting course, meaning your membership never expires. You never lose access to any of the videos, any of the content. And as I add new sections and interviews and strategies, I offer those to previous students as well. So you're going to get all of those updates throughout time. So once you're in, you are in for good. Now, I do have a 14-day money-back guarantee. All right, I want you to be happy, but we have a very strict refund policy. I do not offer refunds to anybody that comes in the program, looks around and decides, it's not for me. I want you to make that decision right now before you get into the program. Because in order to get a refund, you need to do all the work. You need to be able to show that you've done all of the work in both module 1 and 2, as well as the foundation module. I need to actually see that you've done all the work and that you're actually not happy with the results. And I've actually not had anybody do this yet. That's okay, but I want you to know, I want to give you a little peace of mind that it's okay. Another thing I want to point out is once you create your goals and come up with your plan, you need to give yourself a little bit of time to take action. And those goals and that plan is something we create during this program. Sometimes it takes a little bit of patience and fine tuning, but once you've practiced your new skills and responses, you are going to start responding this way naturally. So once again, I do offer a money back guarantee, but it's a tight refund policy and you've got to show that you've done all of the work. So now we're moving into the Q&A. I've seen a few things pop up, but before they get there, I want to point something out. If you joined this workshop right at the beginning and you thought, I'm overwhelmed about the thought of getting started, I've been doing all of these things you said not to do. Where do I even start? The Childproof Parenting course is the complete A to Z blueprint, making changes to the way things are right now, okay? I'm going to show you where to start, what to do to avoid and manage challenging behaviors and big emotions, and how to strengthen your relationships with both your child and your partners in parenting. It's all included in the program. Now, you may have joined this workshop because you thought, I really want to be the best parent possible for my child. I want to have a plan so I can be prepared when things get tough. That's awesome. And I want to encourage you to start focusing on how you parent and the choices you're making today. The perfect time to start focusing on your parenting was like yesterday. Truly, it's that important. So if you're not experiencing some of the big challenges that many other parents were today, I'm going to guarantee you that you are going to at some point. Nobody gets away without dealing with some of these challenges. So starting to get clear and building your toolbox now is key. This is the perfect time, whether you have an older child and are at the midst of challenges, or you have a younger child and you're preparing for what lies ahead. Now is the time to get clear about what you want to create for your family, what your relationship with your child looks like, and how you're going to do it, all right? Now, if you have kids that are a bit older, and I saw another question, I have a son in 2nd grade, would this be appropriate for us? So if you have older kids that are a bit older, you'd also be right for this program. I think I mentioned this before. We have a really good mix of parents who are raising an only right now. So we have single parents, we have parents that are on their 3rd, 4th, and 5th child. I have a parent that has a 2-year-old and a 22-year-old. Some have been parenting for quite a long time, but maybe this child is different or it's just challenging. And maybe you've gotten to the point that realizing that things aren't going the way you want them to, and you feel like you have no plan, no system, no clear approach. Maybe you started this workshop and thought, is there something wrong with my child? Am I the only one dealing with defiance and a constant power struggle with my child? Well, let me tell you right now, if I haven't demonstrated, you are not alone. You are dealing with the challenges everyone else is, and they are totally developmentally appropriate. I want you to know that I've got you covered. We are going to talk extensively about why kids are doing what they're doing, because understanding what's driving their behavior is going to allow you to be better prepared in knowing how to respond. I'm going to give you tips on how to both avoid and manage big emotions and challenges, okay? I'm going to show you how to create more clarity and consistency, how to invite your child's cooperation without having to use those bribes or rewards, and how to create consequences that teach and not punish. It's all included inside the program. One thing I know that I do well, and I acknowledge I don't do, everything in my life well, but the one thing that I know that I do really well is organize my course in a way that's going to give you a step-by-step roadmap of how to get it done, because my goal is that you actually complete the program, that you go through all of the videos, you dive in, you get focused, and you really pull together your parenting plan for your family. And so the way I organize it is in a way that you can easily get through the content. So if you gave yourself a good 6 weeks to get through all the content, because there's 6 modules, you are golden. But if you need 6 months, that is great too, because remember, you have lifetime access. I actually have previous students from this online program that are joining this fall group because maybe they started and something came up, or they want to go through it again. I invite all previous students to jump into the live portion of the course. All right, enough from me. It's time to ask your questions if you have them. I see some of you have been throwing some up. I want to answer all of your questions about child-proof parenting, or just how to use limited choices of inviting your child's cooperation. I want to make sure that I also get it all done in the time we have right now. But I want to address 1 or 2 questions that I see over and over. And I think that, I'm going to jump in and answer your questions first. I just have a few things I wrote down. So I'm looking here. Can my husband take the course with me, or does he have to sign up separately? Oh, that is a great question. I'm so glad you brought that up. When you sign up for this course, it is totally available to you and your family, and that's your spouse, your babysitter, your nanny, your mom. I want everybody on your parenting team. And Sarah in her email today said, I want to feel like a team. Everybody on your team should have access to this. And ideally, you go through it together. That's not always possible, and that's fine. But ideally, all of you go together. So you don't have to sign up separately. It covers everybody in your household. And I encourage everybody to be a partner. And what I hear a lot of times, and a lot of families come to me, is because they feel like they're parenting different than their partner, that they're not on the same page. This is one way to get on the same page, because the information isn't coming from you and what you've read, it's coming from me, okay? So partners are usually much more open to hearing what I have to say than if their partner was sharing it with them. So I'm glad you asked that. I have a 2nd grade son. Would this be appropriate? I think I answered this, but yes, completely appropriate. The only thing I would say is maybe a few of my examples might be for younger kids, but I try to have a range of examples for different ages and stages, but 100% appropriate, I guarantee it. How long are the videos each week? Oh, great question. The videos generally are about 30 minutes total. So some of them I have broken down into smaller videos, like a 6-minute video, an 8-minute video. I think I have one video that's 18 minutes long, but then there's not much more. So you don't have to spend a lot of time watching videos every week, okay? You can watch the videos at any time, and then ideally you practice. And that is gonna be the most energy and time that is required to see results in this program, is making sure you take the time to apply those things that were shared in the video or we're talking about in our private student community. Great question. How do the live coaching calls work? What if I can't? Oh, great question. Good. I'm glad you're jumping in. I was actually gonna cover that. So live coaching calls throughout the 6 weeks, and this course opens live on next Tuesday, so October 31st. You don't have to watch the videos. I know many of you are going to be out trick-or-treating with kids, but that's when the first video or the first videos for Module 1 are going to be released. Now, like I said, if you join right now, you're going to have access to the foundation module, and you'll get to prepare for the course. But the live coaching calls are throughout this 6-week period, and we generally have 4 live coaching calls where I have it set up where it's a video similar to this. You can submit questions ahead of time. So I will have a link with a form, and you can send me questions, especially if you're not able to make the during that window of time. You can watch the videos later. So it's recorded, it's in your course. You don't have to go looking for it. It's all, and I will announce all of the dates and times of our live coaching calls on the 31st. And if I hear like these times don't work for us, I am willing to shuffle things around, because I know a lot of people are joining us from different parts of the world and different time zones. So I will make sure that it works for you. And I love having you on the coaching call. So you don't have to submit questions ahead of time. You can show up with your questions, and you and I can have back and forth dialogue about answering questions that are specific to your child and your family, ideally within the range of the topics that we are addressing within that period of time. So I don't want to skip ahead, because many times when we have these coaching calls, you ask questions about things that we're going to talk about next week. So I kind of hold off on that. What if I can? Okay, so if you can't make them, you can watch them later. I hope that answers your question. Another question, when do I need to make the decision to sign up? So great question, another great question. Enrollment is closing this Thursday at midnight, closing at midnight. But as I had mentioned before, you have the opportunity to get those bonuses. So you can get the book bonuses, the 2 books, if you are one of the first 10 to sign up by tomorrow night at midnight, which is Tuesday the 24th, Pacific Standard Time. I know you're on different time zones, so I want to be very clear. 24th, Tuesday the 24th, you can still get that book bonus. And if you sign up right now within the next 2 hours of when this webinar finishes, so I'm giving you a little bit of a window, you can get the live coaching call with me. All right. So how am I doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so close. I'm glad I was able to answer this question. So I'm going to give a second or two for people to type in any last minute questions. I think one other thing that people ask is like, what else do I need to make this work, right? They're showing up, there's practicing. I think there's one thing that's really important. And the 1 or 2, oh good, I'm so glad you're going to be joining us. That's awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know. I will be on the lookout for you. One thing that I've noticed, especially in my private practice, is that parents that have a negative attitude and are closed-minded and just want to blame their child do not have great results. But if you come with a positive attitude and an open mind, and commit to being consistent, everything you're doing and saying is going to make a big difference. You're just going to make small little changes to what you're already doing. So like today, one of the examples was making small changes the way you might be offering choices, right? The limited choice. It's starting with the limit, giving some tweaks, giving a little bit of time to make those choices. So this is not going to happen overnight. Everything's not going to change because you tried it for a week. You've got to consistently use these tools and strategies. And there is a commitment to being consistent with this new plan. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up here. Oh, yay. That's great. I've got 2 of you. So I will be on the lookout for you, and make sure you get your bonus books and your bonus coaching session. So I'm excited to work with you. Okay, so I want to wrap up now because I know that you are super busy. You've got a lot going on. I just want to say thank you to all of you that have shown up. I know some of you have popped in and out. Some of you have to watch this later. And this recording is going to be available through tomorrow night at midnight. So you can come back and watch it again. You can share it with your partner if you're thinking about signing up. But my hope is that you're going to join me for this journey. The life course, like I said, starts October 31st. I am really excited to meet you in the private Facebook group. So once you join, make sure you look for the link in the email that I send you for access to that private group. You won't be able to find it otherwise. And it's also in the course. So you will find it. I'll make sure you get it. So just request access, jump on in there and tell me a little bit about yourself. I can't wait to learn from you. And so, you know, we've got a whole other group of students waiting to meet you as well. So if you're still on the fence, I want to encourage you to check out childproofparenting.com, my main website. And please know that I am more than happy to chat with you on email one-on-one to help you decide if childproof parenting is a good fit for you. So if you want to reach out to me, you can find me at melissa@childproofparenting.com. I'll be more than happy to listen to your situation, tell you truthfully if childproof parenting is a good fit for you. So don't hesitate if you want to discuss it with me personally. I want to make sure you only sign up if it's going to work for you. Okay, again, thank you so much for being here with me today, this morning. I can't tell you how much I really, truly appreciate you staying until the very end, and I can't wait to hear about your parenting successes. Please share with me what you've tried and how it's going. I hope I have the opportunity to interact with you and get to know you through the course. And again, thank you just so much for being here today. Take care and have a great rest of your day.